Welcome to the Unitarian Christian Alliance podcast, episode 79, UCA UK International Conference Roundtable, with guests Daisy Jones and David Fenton. I'm Mark Kane. Are you a European burdened by a lack of fellowship in your area? Do you wish there was a way to meet more people? Well, this is it, and today you will meet two of the team that are making it happen. If you don't live in Europe and you can't go, then just be encouraged at the joy and energy being poured into helping our efforts spread. As a Unitarian Christian, you know how awkward it can be. You aren't a Christian. You've denied the faith. You may even be possessed. It depends on who you ask. The nature of the conversation is unhealthy and unhelpful. We have here a category of doctrine which is derived, implied, and mysterious, but for which questioning is quite dangerous. Let that soak in. For a few centuries, the Church was capable of sustaining various views on this, like dynamic monarchians, logos subordinationists, Arians. It took some time before we had a tri-personal, co-equal Godhead. How could they function before this was figured out? I mean, how do you know who is and who isn't a Christian in a time when you don't even have a term for a tri-personal God? Well, thank goodness we have it figured out now. It's settled science. Theology. What's the point with even discussing it? Why humor these people who are so blinded as to not accept in faith the glorious mystery that God has revealed? This mindset among Christianity leadership is quite pervasive. And that explains why so few lay people understand what we're talking about. They've never heard it. When the Sunday school class topic is on the Trinity and the hard questions start to arise, the approach isn't list as many carefully considered interpretations of the text as possible and then weigh them based on merit. No, the approach is that because the Trinity is the true faith of all Christianity, the answers to these hard questions are to be found from Trinitarians themselves. These Trinitarians are the ones we can trust, certainly not the heretics. So, Mr. Sunday School skeptic, the answer to your question, given that the Trinity is naturally true, is here, the dual nature of Jesus. Oh, and for that question, the glorious mystery that your human mind can't even begin to grasp. Trust me, Mr. Sunday School hand raiser, the answer is not even remotely that the theory of the Trinity is flawed in any way. It is settled theology. In the interview today, Daisy jokes about being seen as a cult. If you don't know why that's a common point of somewhat dark humor among us, it's because many groups elevate the denial of this mysterious doctrine of the Trinity to the pole position, the top-tier indicator that a group is a cult. It's humorous because of how sad it is. It's one of those, if you didn't laugh, you'd cry. So we frequently do laugh. Many, if not most, of us scripturally focused Unitarian Christians, they're just like me and have no earthly authority, no charismatic figurehead, no extra-biblical writings to revere, no system of shaming and shunning to enforce compliance, no practices to which we demand obedience, no special underwear, no enhanced list of commandments, no secret handshakes, no demands on what you can and cannot read, no late-night rituals involving animals, and no financial requirements under duress of hell. In my circles and in many of our groups, this is normal. So we laugh because what makes a cult is the control and manipulation and the damage that results from the overbearing organization and the leadership. It's the interjection of selfish humans into the path between the members and their God. We are called cults because we read the New Testament and realize They weren't Trinitarians. That's all it takes. So we laugh. I have Daisy and David on today because this event is significant. We've had the UCA plugging along for 3 years now, and that whole time I've had contacts in Europe who have yet to gather and visit with other Unitarian Christians. This is finally an opportunity, and I'm so excited to have been a small part in helping out. Daisy and David, thank you very much for joining me. I'm so touched and excited to have this conversation today.
Likewise.
Lovely to be here.
Daisy, why don't you start out with how you ended up in this spot?
Well, Sean Finnegan coined the term Catholic Unitarian, so I'm kind of running with that. I was brought up Catholic, but not really believing in the Trinity. So I spent my life just praying to God and to Jesus and picturing them both as separate entities. Jesus as the friend and God as the Father.
Yeah.
And then I met my wonderful husband. When we were dating, I asked him, "You don't really believe that Jesus is God, do you?" Knowing it would be a deal breaker.
Oh.
And he paused and thankfully said, "No, I don't." And I was like, phew, okay, our relationship may continue.
Proceed.
Yeah, exactly. Then I reached out to the most knowledgeable Christian I know, who shall remain nameless. He worked for a very notable Trinitarian society.
Oh.
And I sent him a message and I said to him, "I know you work for a Trinitarian society, but you don't really believe in the Trinity, do you?" And he got back to me and said, "Thank you, Daisy. I'm so glad you got in touch. And actually, no, I don't. And actually, my parents run a Unitarian Bible study. And please go."
What?
Yeah. So I took Josh, and that was our foray into Unitarianism.
Okay.
And then we've kind of stayed ever since.
In a moment when we get to David, he's affiliated with a group with like a real name and lots of people. But in your case, you're kind of just a floater.
That's right. We're a fringe cult. No, but I describe myself as just nonconformist Unitarian, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our other esteemed guest is David. Tell me about you.
How long have you got?
Oh, well, okay. I want the short version.
Okay, I was born into a Christadelphian family. I remember as a child knowing it and thinking it and understanding it, before I was a teenager even.
And by it, you mean?
The existence of God and the fact that he has a plan for us and that we have a part in that. Because some people think that, you're only doing this because your parents told you or because the man who established this group says so.
Yeah.
Whereas we were brought up, our Sunday school, for instance, we used to do proofs. So every Sunday you had to prove that God isn't a Trinity, for instance, and come up with a verse for next week. So we were always encouraged to read the scripture and to understand it ourselves.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that I do appreciate about the Christadelphian movement. There's a lot of encouragement for everybody. It's a very flat style of an organization. There's not like one person who tells you what you're supposed to believe and you all just nod your head.
Flat, yes.
But sparkling.
Your exposure to these topics and these ideas was just part of your childhood. Apologetics, even if they didn't call it that, was going on in your life even from early age.
Yes. I remember discussing it at primary school, which, looking back, seemed a bit crazy. I won't go into other things I remember discussing on the way to and from school, but all through school life, discussing it with various people.
When I first met you through Facebook and we chatted a little bit, I think you sent me a screenshot from The Lord of the Rings, and there you were, standing in as an extra in one of the scenes. I was like, oh! I was shocked, and I know being an extra is probably not world-renowned material, but I was impressed.
Right. Well, I've got to correct you there because it can't have been Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
because that was filmed in New Zealand, and I haven't been there.
Well, okay. Tell me about that. You do that kind of work.
Yes, TV and film extra. And that's why you can see me, and I've got a big beard and I've got long hair, and I've grown it just to be able to do those sorts of fantasy shows. No one will recognize me. Well, apart from the neighbours. Occasionally a new neighbour will knock on the door and say, I've just done a bet with my wife. She says, that's not you, and I say it is.
David, is the beard the source of all your power?
No. It does get trimmed. I sometimes am a tramp, but often I am royalty. I'm a lord or something like that. So.
I see you as King Arthur.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been king. I've been Bishop of Jerusalem once.
Oh, wow. You'd make a good church father, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. That was just intriguing. And, does it make a big difference in the world? Probably not. But I think that's neat. And so now, like, whenever I'm watching anything and I see anybody with a white beard, I'm like, okay, no, that's not him. But
no.
Let's talk about how the UCA UK International Conference actually came to be. So I think it started when I just reached out to Daisy because she was active in some Facebook groups, and I thought, oh, interesting, somebody from across the pond. I will message. And then we had a conversation.
Yeah, and obviously you were surprised that I could actually talk because I mostly post memes in the UCA group. But you can actually speak, my gosh.
Yeah.
So basically we had a great conversation, I think, with Josh. And then following that, you proposed the idea and we jumped on it. And then I think you guys thought it would be cool to have others involved from different denominations.
Yes.
And not just our fringe cult. And so here we are.
We'd already been thinking we need to do this in multiple places. We got to have something in Europe. And we need to have several people involved because a UCA conference is not a denominational conference. So, David, how did you originally get connected to this effort? Do you remember?
Yes, I've been trying to cast my mind back. It's like a year or so back, I think. Because I knew that there was a desire to hold a conference abroad. And I thought, well, yes, the UK seems to be the obvious thing. So I did start thinking about how that might be done. So when I got wind that something was afoot, I did immediately contact one or two people. I think someone had reached out to Dan Weatherall, and he had reached out to me as it happened.
Yeah, Dan Weatherall's the host of the Bible Feed podcast, and he was a guest on the podcast way back a few years ago. He was one of the first people I reached out to because I know him. So that's how you got involved in it. Yeah.
Well, I was excited to work with Christadelphians, as was Josh, obviously, because we have actually worshipped and fellowshipped with Christadelphians in Wales, in the Mumbles. We've met some fabulous Christadelphians who've been very kind and loving and generous. So I was excited to form a committee, all of us together. And we also have Jeremy Pierce and James Andrews. And Jeremy Pierce has a wealth of experience in organising events, which I felt took the pressure off some of us a bit. And James also, I think he's in with the student kind of crowd. And he's also seems to be quite experienced in things. So I think we've got a great committee. And obviously David and Debbie with the icing on the cake. And
well, yeah, whatever we've got to offer.
Yeah. You've got a lot to offer, David, and we've all been working together, I think, really well, which has been great.
Well, that's something you get with Christadelphians, though, because our unstructured structure that we have, it means that if something needs doing, someone's got to do it. Therefore, you have to be up for things. So I've been on regional preaching committees. I've been on youth group committees and organised drama groups and puppet shows and music groups, and been in a band and done British Museum tours and all sorts of things. You know, if nobody does anything, it doesn't get done. So someone's got to do it.
That's good to know. So the Christadelphians are basically a culture of volunteers.
Exactly. Yes.
Wow.
And there's people doing magazines and charity work. The charity work that Christadelphians do in Africa, for instance, the admin cost is minute because it's done by volunteers. You go to someone else's place and it's all about the plush carpets and expensive offices.
Yeah.
We don't have that. So all the money goes where it needs to go.
I love it.
That's great.
I knew the Christadelphians existed, but because of the UCA, I'm now connecting to actual Christadelphians like you. And it's amazing. You guys are like all over the place, just doing the work of loving people and serving them. I just love it.
Amen.
Yeah. Someone sees a need and we try to do something.
Yeah. Why did you think we got to have a UCA conference here and I'm going to help? What was it?
Restoring the faith back to first century Christianity. I just think it's really symbolic to have this in London, to have this in the UK, home of the Reformation. And I just think it needs to happen here. I just think it's a really historical place. We would have loved to have gone to America for the UCA conferences, but it's just not possible with my husband's job and everything else. And so, we wanted to make something accessible. And my husband especially, we've been forming kind of friends and networks around Europe who are also super excited to see this event coming together. So, everyone is just really keen on pulling this off, basically. We're in it to win it.
And I can understand you being a little more isolated, not having a lifelong group that you've just been with forever. But somebody like David, you're like me, David. You grew up with people around you, a community from birth. And yet you also said, yeah, let's do this.
I've been aware of activity in America for quite some time. For instance, I showed Bill and Stephanie Schlegel's video of them describing how they came to reject the Trinity. I showed it to my ecclesia because we have an interest in knowing that there's still people in the world who, of their own volition, have found this. When I receive a phone call, as I did some years ago, from someone saying, I believe exactly like you do, they hadn't studied our materials, they'd studied the Bible, and they'd found these truths. And that always is encouraging. And it also leads to different perspectives because they came from a different angle. That's always of an interest. There was excitement a few years ago. Someone published a couple of books about biblical Unitarianism in Europe. And that encouraged interest, and people were excited to see that, again, we're not on our own. There's other people out there who have held these beliefs and valued them. In the case of those people in Europe, people died for their faith. We don't struggle against that sort of thing anymore. But it's almost sometimes the fact that people seem to take it for granted. We need that encouragement.
So you saw the vision that the UCA is trying to do, which is expose us to people, to help draw lines between folks who might otherwise be kind of lost. You saw that as a value to your own experiences and even then your ecclesia.
Absolutely, yes. It encourages people to know that there are still people out there who care dearly and make sacrifices.
Yeah.
If we advertise things, we don't usually get much of a response. Not in the UK. Worldwide, the faith is growing. But in the UK, things have been a bit quiet.
Well, we're shaking it up a little bit, rattle some things.
Yes.
This is like free advertising. I should designate the Christadelphians in the UK have not paid me to bring David on and mention them. Okay. One of the unique things about the conference is that we're not having a denominational gathering with a communion service to start us off, and then worship time. It's a networking conference. It's like a business conference. This is your chance to have some presentations, to think about things you might have not thought before, meet a lot of people, talk over meals. We've opened the door wide open and said, if you believe that Jesus is a human and he is the human son exalted to the right hand of the Father, why don't you come along and meet some other folks like you? People are everywhere. Christadelphians have a particular background. Daisy has a background. There will be people there with Messianic background. Maybe Jews will be there. There could be some folks who are former Muslims there. it will be a unique experience. And the point of it is to meet these people, to make some connections, and possibly find some people that you might have a bigger connection to than you thought. And maybe they needed to find you or you needed to find them.
You mean we're not baptizing people? I thought
No.
No, we're really not. No, look, the feedback we got from the engagement survey was clear. People just want to meet like-minded Unitarians and they want to have time to get together, and that's it. We're not selling anything apart from, as you said, Jesus is the human son of our Abba Father. Full stop.
Yeah.
Period, as you guys say in the US.
And that's confusing for some people because, I don't understand what you are. What group are you with? And we're like, well, we're really not.
What are you selling?
Yeah, what are you selling? I mean, like David, a group like the Christadelphians has a very established statement of faith, a set of doctrines, a lot of things that through the years has become just a part of you. And so the UCA is like this oddball thing where we're just talking about one thing, come on over.
Yes, it is a little bit of an oddball, really, isn't it? Which I think has led to some confusion. One of the things that I'm hoping to do is to introduce gently the UCA to Christadelphians, because, in this country, around the world, most people are totally oblivious. So I am treading very carefully and seeing what I can do.
Yeah.
Because there are always misunderstandings and we don't want to start off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
Sometimes as a community, focus moves around and there are some young people who don't value the things that we believe. What difference does it make? And sometimes it's important to bring that sort of thing into focus. So the fact that I can find a podcast on the internet with hundreds of episodes all on the Trinity is incredible to me and an incredible resource for those of us who've said, we got that sorted, tick that box, onto the next subject. We still should be having those sorts of conversations with people in our lives to be able to share the resources that we have as different groups from different directions should be of value to everyone. Occasionally we get on the Facebook page people saying, I'm looking for a songbook. We have Christadelphian songbooks. We have children's songbooks. We have Sunday school materials. There's all sorts of things that we've done which possibly other people might be interested in, just as I'm interested in other people's YouTube videos and blog posts and so on.
Yeah. It's an opportunity for people. Somebody might be thinking, wait, I didn't know there was a group called Christadelphians, or I wanted one of these books and I have no idea where to start. Now they know you exist. Now they know other folks exist and they can get to know what's out there. What's out there is more than just the Trinity. Sometimes I think to myself, this is just our excuse to get together and meet each other.
Brandon said in a post that Unitarians are natural problem solvers and system builders. And honestly, the feedback from the engagement survey proves that. I mean, the skills and talents people have and are offering, it's brilliant. And it's clear that people want to share and help bring this about. So it's not just a UK committee thing. We really want it to be international. And we have had just so much positive feedback from people who are desperate to come. So
name some of the countries where you have had people say, yes, I plan to be there.
Oh, everywhere.
Everywhere.
There's an Indian guy in Paris, Pakistani. We have a Brazilian. We have a Finnish person, someone from Amsterdam. So that's just off the top of my head.
Germany?
Yes. Well, we may be having a new committee member who's a German. Hey. Who knows?
Yeah, I love in Europe, you can just get on a train and almost go everywhere, though I was sad to find out that I can't get to Ireland by train. So when I'm there, I'll have to get on the boat. But I played the Irish tin whistle, in case somebody missed that episode with Jackie. So your committee then has been coming up with the venue. It is just a touch early. So these are tentative, not all locked in yet.
It's not tentative anymore, Mark.
Well, some of it might be tentative.
Some of it is.
Well, the dates are the 25th to the 27th of July in Windsor in the UK.
Isn't it 24th through 27th? Hold on a second.
Well, It's the 25th to the 27th, but we may have a debate beforehand.
Okay.
And then we've also got activities after that. But that's our slot in the church.
Okay.
And yeah, it's round the corner from Windsor Castle. So lunch breaks, you can literally just walk to the castle, which is really cool. So yeah, and well, we had a very hard time securing a venue because I had a great rapport with everyone. And then I said to them, can you just check with your leadership that it's cool for us to hold a conference there? And then I either wouldn't hear back from them or I got a very strong, no, your theology sucks. So that was for about 6 months. And I had this big dream that I was going to hold it at the London School of Theology, and I have friends there and all the rest of it. And then that was a big fat no in the end. Yeah. But anyway, we are now hoping tentatively that it will be at the URC Church. That's United Reformed Church. They are quite a liberal church, I guess. We definitely have said that we are a persecuted minority as Christians. Mm-hmm. Although I feel bad saying that because clearly, you know, our forefathers were a lot more persecuted than we were. We're not really suffering any persecution at all in the 21st century as Unitarians, but we are still a persecuted minority, as we all know from any content we do online. I think they felt sorry for us. We're in it, and we've invited them, you know, to come. The URC Church here, they've closed about 50% of their churches, but this one is quite a thriving church. And I have to say, because I believe in signs, when I walked into the church, they had 2 big banners, and one of the banners was Jeremiah 29:12, which is, come and pray to me and I will listen. And the me and the I were highlighted. And I nudged Josh and I thought, oh my goodness, this is the church.
Because they were singular pronouns. The pronouns were highlighted.
Yeah, exactly. Me and I. Yes. Yeah. And in different colors too. You'll see it when you go.
Wow.
Yeah. So how's about that?
Yeah.
So then the church warden is a lovely lady, and we got on very well with her, and we're hoping this will all go ahead.
Okay. When will we know that?
The contract is still coming, but she has agreed it's in the diary. We've secured the dates pending the contract.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth saying that the intention is to follow the general pattern of the American conferences. So the intention is to have some scholarly papers. We don't know how many yet, partly up for discussion and then partly down to who we can get hold of.
Yeah.
There will be workshops, lots of opportunities to meet other people, and possibly quite a few interviews with people to get people talking.
Okay.
To introduce different groups, possibly. And a few children's activities as well. We're not expecting a lot of children, because I don't think we could cope with them. But there are those people with families who've said, I've got 4 kids, how can I come? And we've said, well, we can do something about that.
Okay. So that's not like we'll have a childcare program running all day long.
No.
But there will be some activities, though.
There will be some activities, yes. The parents will be able to leave them for periods of time.
Okay.
And lovely Debbie is an expert in childcare.
Yes.
Debbie is David's wife.
Yes.
Exactly, yes. Debbie, we have experience of Sunday schools and childcare and various events. So, yeah.
How many people can we fit in this church?
100 plus 50.
100 plus 50. Is that how you say 150 in England?
Yeah. No. No one says that apart from Daisy. We have 100 in the main hall, but with capacity for an overspill of 50 people. So basically we can open some doors and then it can be a bigger room.
Ah, that's really good. And that you're following the pattern we did is it's worked really well now for a few years in a row. The gaps between sessions are like 30 minutes. And the meals are longer. And then the afternoon has a big open slot with nothing. And then sometimes we'll have an afternoon presentation or discussion that's much more casual. And some people don't go. They just continue to visit. So I'm very happy that we're following the same pattern and leaving lots of gaps.
I hope they don't fill it by doing too many tourism things. being right in the middle of winter. It's like tempting.
No, this is your chance to meet other Unitarians. If you've been isolated, you're not going to go to a castle. I mean, castles are everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, who lives there anyway?
Wait, who does live there?
I think William at the moment.
It's lived in.
Yeah. Yeah, the Queen used to live there. So
I think I just exposed my ignorance of England.
Yes, it's a royal castle that's lived in.
Okay. One of the speakers that I know is likely to speak is Thomas Gaston, who is the author of Dynamic Monarchianism, which the UCA publishing arm, Theophilus Press, just released like a few months ago. And we're very excited about that because that book is just a monumental work.
Yeah, he's a Christadelphian. He studied theology in university, has done various papers. He's working in publishing himself now and has edited a number of books and written a number of books on all sorts of interesting subjects. But one of my particular interests is early Christianity. What happened? What went wrong?
Yeah.
In those early years? That's one of the tasks that he has set himself, to try to piece together what happened to Christianity as we understand it in the first 100, 200 years of the church life.
Yeah.
Things that happened before the Nicene Creed. Are we actually represented? How can you find biblical Unitarians?
Yeah.
The name used for people in that period is Dynamic Monarchians, which doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
It doesn't. No.
But I don't think you can confuse it with anyone else.
No, yeah. He had done that book in a first edition, and the UCA Publishing Committee, Dale and Keegan, really saw so much potential and wanted to add to it, get it some extra footnotes, and just go through and create a second edition because we just loved it. And it was a labor of love. It took a long time and a lot of hours, but edition number 2 is out and it's available right now. And Thomas will be there.
Yeah, the first edition is a bit of a mess, but yeah, I've got that one.
No, the first edition was fine. It's just the second edition is finer.
Like the page numbering.
Well, we're just so excited that we get to go there and have him join us at the conference. It's a privilege.
He's a good communicator, so yeah, that should go well.
Yeah, and the other speakers, we don't know who they are yet, so...
Well, Andrew Perryman has agreed to do it for a bottle of whiskey. So we're counting on Dale to bring one from Tennessee. So
all right.
Just kidding.
Well, it should be an extraordinary event. I'm going to be there. Dale's going to be there. We might get Leah, who is the treasurer on the board, who is Christadelphian. She's got people she knows over there in the UK because there's a lot of you Christadelphians there. So she's hoping to come as well. I'm thrilled. This will be my first chance to go to Europe. I'm not young, so I've missed a lot of chances, apparently.
Whoa.
And it's your 30th wedding anniversary.
Yes. Why not spend it in Europe?
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
So in order to prep us for the fun that's going to unfold when we get there, I mean, not everybody's from England. Do we just say UK? Is it okay to say England? Am I doing something wrong there?
England is part of the UK.
Yes, although we're making it inclusive by saying the UK.
The UK. But I'm talking to Englanders right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, I'm Welsh.
Oh. Okay.
Fiercely Welsh. I'm not allowed to support England in any sporting event.
Right. What do we need to know in order to be comfortable? Is there any English phrases or cliches that would be helpful that would,
Actually, one of the things that I thought was about pronunciation, because it's by the River Thames, and there's lots of buoys floating on the Thames. And I've noticed, listening to the various UCA people, they always say buoy.
Okay.
And we say boy, and it's like, that always sounds so strange.
Right.
But I'm sure you think it's strange that there are buoys floating in the river.
Well, I don't think it's strange. My last podcast involved bodies floating in rivers and oceans. So
Gosh.
True.
I'm completely warmed up to the idea of boys in the river. And you pronounced it Thames?
Thames, yes.
Thames.
Not Thames?
Not Thames.
Okay.
And not Leicester Square.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the pronunciation thing.
Yes.
Like it's in Berkshire.
Oh,
Berkshire, yes.
Berkshire. Okay.
Hurricanes hardly happen. Never mind. No, you're going to be right at home in the conference. The only difference you're probably going to encounter is the fact that, let me guess, Mark, do you say Isaiah?
Isaiah.
Right, so we say Isaiah.
No.
Yeah,
Yes.
did you not know
Yes.
that?
That's terrible.
Yeah, we say Isaiah.
Because one eye's higher than the other one.
I say it the way Jesus said it, so I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Another one, maybe?
Yes?
Do you say Nehemiah or Nehemiah?
I literally had to think, what did she even say?
What?
No, I say Nehemiah. That first word you said
Nehemiah, okay.
doesn't even sound like a word I know.
Oh, no, because I think maybe this is more a Hebrew roots thing, because they tend to say Nehemiah like Jewish people do, yeah. Or some American Jewish people do, yeah.
If that's the way they say it in Jewish, then I should probably switch. I like the authenticity.
Well, nobody speaks in Cockney rhyming slang anymore. That just doesn't happen. But there are words that are in the language because of it. So someone might say, I didn't hear a dicky bird. Or I don't Adam and Eve it.
I don't believe it.
A suitable expression, I don't believe it. I don't Adam and Eve it.
That's an actual...
Yeah, I say that.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Or give us a butcher's.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell us what these things mean, or just these are words I'll hear?
No, we're just speaking in code.
Okay.
Yes, which apparently is why it was invented. Well, butcher's is butcher's hook. Look, give us a look.
Have a look.
Dicky bird is word.
And not a dicky bird means nothing. You don't hear a thing. I didn't hear anything.
Oh, that's so strange. But that's okay. Are there any others? Or
apples and pears stairs?
Apples and pears.
Yeah.
No one uses that.
Nobody says that.
No, Lady Godiva, fiver. No one says these things anymore.
No.
Okay.
No. You might. Somewhat. Well, she's rabbiting on a bit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now that's Cockney rhyming slang. That's for rabbit and pork talk.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad we covered some of that here. So I'm fine now.
I will do a guide. I will do a little one-page little thing.
Fantastic.
Well, maybe in the program. Who knows? Okay. I'll do a jokey little thing.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, if they're planning to be there and want to just hang out for an extra day or two after, or maybe come the day before, what are the hopes for that?
Right, before a debate, maybe. And is that when you were planning to go to Speaker's Corner, or was that Sunday?
That's Sunday, 2 to 4, just after your tour, David.
I'm hoping, God willing, to be able to do a tour of the British Museum.
Okay.
Ooh.
Of the biblical aspects, biblical archaeology.
There's a section in there about...
The whole museum is testament to biblical evidence.
Oh, well, not the whole, not the Chinese sections or the...
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a time when Britain had control over and was interested in the Middle East and so on. And so Bible believers dashed out there with their money and dug up lots of holes to try to find evidence of Joseph in Egypt and of Ur of the Chaldees and various places. So, and also other European nations did it too. So there's quite a bit around Europe, and there's quite a bit in London that's worth seeing.
And I'll tell you what is in there.
What?
Nehemiah's cup.
Whose? What?
Okay.
The cupbearer with some big silver, what they believe could be. He held what they believe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm very skeptical about some of those things.
Okay.
Yeah,
I go for the solid stuff.
Okay.
This was dug up.
Yeah.
This is definitely this.
Yeah, a splinter of the cross. I'd love to see one of those. That would be great.
We'll see what we can do, Mark.
So I like that we're working on something before and something after. So a potential debate, obviously on the topic of Unitarianism and Trinitarianism, and maybe the night before. And then the Sunday after, besides having ecclesias in the area, if somebody wanted to actually drop in, because you've got several Christadelphian ecclesias. I don't know if there are any other groups relatively close that are Unitarian, but those are some things that you could do in the morning. And then the afternoon.
A Speaker's Corner normally starts from about 2 and finishes about 5 or 6.
Okay.
And that's the home of free speech in Hyde Park in the centre of London, and very famous. And most of the most famous preachers and evangelists started their lives there, preaching on their little soapboxes. So we will get a taste of that. And in fact, our very own Paul Schrock and his lovely wife, they're there every single Sunday with their own Unitarian stand, which I recommend people see. Also, Josh has been there a few times very successfully and had some great debates that have gone viral and brandished him a Jehovah's Witness, but whatever.
Whatever.
But yeah, so no, but it will be really fascinating. I was telling a couple of people that I did a very illegal drive through Hyde Park, driving with my phone and videoing, just to give people a taste of what they might be able to see, because Hyde Park is beautiful, even if you don't want to do Speaker's Corner.
Is it illegal because Hyde Park is a protected site? I mean, why can't you take a video?
Because you shouldn't really drive and video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I heard nothing. Well, guys, I'm so glad we got a chance to visit. Like I said, I want people to at least have a sense for who are these people putting this on. And you both represent two aspects of the folks on the team. Any other last words? I don't know.
I just want to say, most Brits say Nehemiah.
Oh.
Before I say it's just me that says Nehemiah, okay?
Ah.
But anyway, the last final words. Please come. We all want to meet you. We want to, have fun and really delve into our faith and explore it together. And you are so welcome, everyone.
All right.
Yeah, come and listen and talk. And there's a lot of things that we can learn from each other, I'm sure.
Yeah. And you don't have to give up your distinctives, your background to be there. It's not a...
There's no secret handshake. You're not going to be stamped.
No.
You are a free person.
Yeah. One thing we have not achieved is authoritarian rule over anybody. So...
Difficult to achieve.
We're a long way off from that.
There's time.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much. It's been a joy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was fun. The two upcoming events we are listing on our site is the James White and Dale Tuggy debate in March in Texas and the UCA UK International Conference in July. There should be more events here. Please let us know. UnitarianChristianAlliance.org/events. Registration is not open yet for the International Conference, but we will announce when it is. Write me, podcast@UnitarianChristianAlliance.org. Include an audio attachment if you like, or there's a link to record a message in the show notes. If you haven't signed up on the UCA website, it's a way to make yourself available for others in the area to reach out to. You'll get a spot on your postal code, and the map is quite amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on UnitarianChristianAlliance.org. This directory of both members and groups is a resource to help people find each other. Before 2020, if you had just been booted from your church for being that relentless Mr. Sunday School, what do you do next? Well, first you had to find groups that did not teach the Trinity. Then you had to find their locations, and this was not that easy. Some groups are small, some don't have their own up-to-date directories, and some don't even have directories at all. This tool is so that you can find groups or individuals and start there. Maybe you make lifelong friends and find a fellowship that encourages and strengthens your faith. Maybe not, but it's worth a shot. And it could take a while before someone else in your area shows up, so be patient. In the meantime, there are events that people and groups host, and they are glad to have you come. These are listed on the events page. And then there are the UCA conferences too. And from the Mailbag, it's a note from Harris in Tennessee. Hi, Mark. I'm happy to report that the directory has already helped me get in touch with someone in my town. Thanks for all the hard work you and the board have put into facilitating these connections. I love the podcast. It's great for someone like me who's new to this whole Unitarian world, because it's one thing to know that other people out there have this view, but it's another thing to have a sense of the real people, real Christians, who are trying to live faithful lives to God and His Son, Jesus. Thanks again. I'm glad to be connected to this encouraging community. Harris. Well, thank you, Harris. I appreciate the note. And yes, you picked up on one of my objectives here. It's real people, real lives, real struggles and successes. It's fun, heartfelt, and sometimes sad, but it's definitely encouraging. Let us spur one another on toward love and good deeds. If you know someone who could not make it to the conference here in the States, this UK International Conference could be their chance. That is, unless they live in Australia, or New Zealand, or the Polynesians. But in Europe, at least, share this episode with them. Just imagine them saying out loud about the conference, "I haven't heard a dicky bird," and then do something about it. Thank you, Daisy and David. What a joy. I can't wait to be there. And I did just submit the passport paperwork, so I'm in plenty of time for July. I should have asked if hugs are culturally acceptable in the UK, because I'm bringing a suitcase full. But regardless, I know the heresy damnation secret cult handshake, so I'll see you soon. May God bless you in your truth pursuits. I hope this podcast serves you well.
I wasn't sure about calling you a floater, by the way.
A fluter?
A floater.
Did you actually say... Wait, does that mean something different in England than it does here?
Potentially. But it's fine. It's fine. Your audience won't.
It's when one discharges unprocessed sewage into a river.
Okay.